Alright, welcome back to Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm your host, Jason Nicanio, and our continued look at NES accessories. But before diving in, a special shout out goes to Susan Fit47, a true retro gaming fan and supporter of classic console history. Well, the NES revolutionized home gaming in the 1980s, introducing millions to iconic titles and groundbreaking peripherals that shaped the future of interactive entertainment. And among these accessories, well, the NES Acclaim Remote Controller stands out as a bold experiment in wireless technology during a time when wired controllers were the norm. Well, this documentary explores the origins, design, technology, marketing, and cultural legacy of this fascinating device, tracing its journey from concept to collector's item. The NES Acclaim Remote Control on episode number 113 of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. Welcome to this edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm your host, Jason Nicanio. This is episode number 113 of our fantastic show that's looking now at all the goodies, and I mean all of the goodies that we've seen so far. Boy, oh boy, we've got a lot to look at and discover in this lineup of NES accessories that pretty much has gone well, and I mean really well. It's in fact, it's been looking really good. So with all of that, I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. All right. I just got a new computer, friends, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. So if for some reason I seem to have basically am trying to get everything going here, it's because we are looking at some. I'm trying to figure out Windows 11. That's exactly where I'm having the issue right now, and but that's that's the way it looks. So I don't want to do that. Open this with yes, that's what I want. Photos. There we go. All right. This is Saturday, April 11, 2026, and we're looking at the Acclaim Remote Controller. So let's take a look at it right now and get on with it, because we have a lot to cover in this special edition of episode number 113. The mid to late 1980s marked the golden age of the NES, and a period when Nintendo dominated the home console market and redefined what gaming could be. Now, the system's success inspired a wave of innovation from both Nintendo and third-party developers eager to expand the console's capabilities. Accessories like the Zapper Light Gun, the Power Pad, and the Power Glove captured the imagination of players, offering new ways to interact with games. Within this environment of experimentation, Acclaim Entertainment, they saw an opportunity to push boundaries further by introducing a wireless controller that promised freedom from tangled cords and limited movement. Acclaim Entertainment was best known for publishing popular titles such as Double Dragon 2, Turok, and Mortal Kombat in later years. However, during the NES era, the company sought to diversify its portfolio by entering the hardware market. The Acclaim Remote Controller was one of its earliest and most ambitious ventures into gaming accessories. The idea was simple, yet forward-thinking. Create a controller that allowed players to enjoy their favorite NES games without being tethered to the console. And this concept was revolutionary for its time, as most players were accustomed to sitting just a few feet from their televisions due to the short length of standard control cable or controller cables. But the Acclaim Remote Controller closely resembled the standard NES controller in layout, featuring the familiar D-pad, A and B buttons, and start and select buttons. However, its body was noticeably bulkier to accommodate the infrared transmitter and battery compartment. The controller came with a receiver unit that plugged into the NES's controller ports, translating the infrared signals into electrical inputs that the console could understand. The design was sleek for its time, with a futuristic aesthetic that appealed to players who wanted something that looked advanced and high-tech. The build quality was solid, though the added weight from the batteries made it slightly heavier than the standard controller. The infrared sensor was positioned at the top of the controller, requiring a direct line of sight to the receiver for optimal performance. This design choice, while necessary for the technology of the time, introduced some limitations that would later affect its usability. Infrared technology was the heart of the Acclaim Remote Controller. Similar to the technology used in television remotes, it transmitted signals through invisible light beams, and when a button was pressed, the controller sent a coded infrared signal to the receiver, which then relayed the command to the NES. This system worked well under ideal conditions, but was sensitive to interference. Bright lights, reflective surfaces, or obstacles between the controller and receiver could disrupt the signal, causing lag or missed inputs. And despite these challenges, the Acclaim Remote Controller represented a significant leap forward. It demonstrated that wireless gaming was possible, even if the technology wasn't yet perfect. The controller required 2 AA batteries, which provided several hours of gameplay before needing replacement, and for many players, the trade-off between convenience and occasional signal issues was worth it. When Acclaim launched the remote controller, it was marketed as a premium accessory for serious gamers. Advertisements emphasized its futuristic design and the freedom it offered, portraying it as a must-have for those who wanted to experience gaming in a new way. The packaging often featured bold graphics and slogans highlighting its wireless capabilities, appealing to the imagination of young players who dreamed of cutting-edge technology. However, the reception was mixed, and while some players were impressed by the novelty and convenience, others found the performance inconsistent. The need for a clear line of sight and the occasional input lag frustrated users accustomed to the reliability of wired controllers. Additionally, the higher price point made it less accessible to casual gamers, and despite these drawbacks, the Acclaim Remote Controller developed a small but loyal following among enthusiasts who appreciated its innovation. Acclaim was not the only company experimenting with wireless controllers during the NES era. Other manufacturers such as Broderbund and Camerica released their own versions of wireless gamepads, each with varying degrees of success. Some used radio frequency or RF technology instead of infrared, offering better range and fewer interruptions. However, Acclaim's controller remained one of the most recognizable due to its strong branding and widespread retail presence. The competition among these early wireless devices helped pave the way for future advancements in controller technology. And while the Acclaim Remote Controller was innovative, it was not without flaws. The reliance on the infrared technology meant that even small obstructions, such as a person walking between the controller and receiver, could interrupt gameplay. The controller's range was limited to about 10 to 15 feet, and bright sunlight or fluorescent lighting could interfere with the signal. Battery life was another concern, as frequent use drained power quickly. These issues prevented the controller from achieving mainstream success, but they also provided valuable lessons for future developers. The Acclaim Remote Controller's influence extended far beyond its commercial performance. It proved that players valued freedom of movement and convenience, setting the stage for future innovations. Later consoles, such as the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, saw their own wireless accessories, and by the time of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, wireless controllers had become the industry standard. The Acclaim Remote Controller can be seen as an early ancestor of modern wireless gamepads, bridging the gap between the wired past and the wireless present. Today, the NES Acclaim Remote Controller is a prized collectible among retro gaming enthusiasts. Its rarity, combined with its historical significance, makes it a sought-after item for collectors who appreciate the evolution of gaming technology. Complete sets with the original box, the receiver, and manual are also especially available, and probably very, very rare too. And beyond its monetary worth, the controller represents a moment in gaming history when creativity and experimentation were at their peak, and companies were willing to take risks to push the boundaries of what was possible. The Acclaim Remote Controller also holds cultural significance as a symbol of the 1980s fascination with futuristic technology. During this era, wireless devices were seen as the hallmark of progress, from cordless phones to remote-controlled televisions. The controller captured the same spirit of innovation, embodying the optimism and imagination of a generation that believed technology could make everything better. It reflected the broader cultural shift toward convenience, mobility, and freedom, values that continue to define consumer electronics today. The NES Acclaim Remote Controller remains a remarkable artifact from the early days of home gaming innovation. And though it faced technical limitations and mixed reviews, its ambition and forward-thinking design left a lasting mark on the industry. It demonstrated that players were ready for wireless gaming long before the technology was perfected. For collectors, historians, and fans of retro gaming, the Acclaim Remote Controller stands as a testament to the creativity and daring spirit of the NES era, a time when every new accessory promised to change the way games were played forever. And there you have it, friends, the NES wireless controller from the Acclaim Company. Wow, what a history story. And another great NES accessory from our wonderful, fantastic subscriber, SusanFit47, who has given us not just this particular accessory, but a whole slew of NES accessories that we haven't even yet scratched the surface, making the extension of the NES accessories library of episodes on Jay's Retro Toys and Games expand beyond its limitations. We will continue on Tuesday with a look at another great NES accessory in the list that she gave us. Thank you for your continued support. And remember to hit that like and subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with Jay's All TV channel and, of course, our very popular show, Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm back online, folks, with Windows 11 and a brand new computer. That means From the Stretch and Versus will return on its regularly scheduled programming for the rest of the season. We hope that you will join us for a great show on Versus, where it's Applebee's versus Chili's, finally going to separate the two and give you the historic background on both of those particular companies of great restaurant food. Sit-down food, as they say. Till Monday, and till next time when we see each other, I'm Jason Icanio, and we thank you very much for your continued support. We will see you on Tuesday. Till then, have a great night, and bye for now.